Jack Fleming Artistry. I am at another friend of mine's shop today, which is really cool. Probably give you guys a little bit of a tour here if he gives me permission on that. But I'm doing truck door lettering on another friend of ours' truck that he's actually been restoring for them. It's a cool truck. I want to tell you guys the history on that. And I want to show you how I design the letters. I won't spend as much time showing the painting on these. I'm going to show you more of how I draw them out, something I haven't really focused on a whole lot in videos. All right, so this is my friend Kelsey's truck. My understanding, this was her grandfather's truck from their ranch that they had in Kansas that goes all the way back to the late 1800s. Super, super cool history here. Cool family history for them. She wanted to honor her family by restoring this truck, keeping it in the family, putting the ranch on the doors, a little bit of the history there. We're going to do a couple other little things, but I want to show you guys me drawing out the doors here. Let's go do that. All right, there wasn't a real need to use tracing paper on this. I could use any kind of paper, but this happened to be the size paper that I had that kind of fits the door. I've taped it on here, covering all the area I'm going to paint. I measured, I'm going to show you something else with my ruler, so I won't show you right now how I did it, but I measured from this body line right here down 5 inches, made myself a line, and then from that, I made, I guess you could call it a grid. I've got a center line. Every 2 inches there's a line coming down. Let me show you that. It's super light. There's a door handle for reference, but you can see just the lines there. That's going to be really important for what I'm going to do next. All right, so I want the top line of letters here. It's going to say Rock and Bar. Underneath it's going to be a straight line, but this top line I want to have an arch to it. So what I did, I take this flexible ruler here, and I figured out the arch that I wanted using tape, and I use that to kind of hold it. And then I can kind of figure out where exactly I want this. Using those lines that I put on here before helps me know if it's, you know, crooked one side or the other, kind of eyeball it out. But I'm going to get that on there, and I'm going to try, and I have to turn my back to y'all. This is really good if you got 2 people. Then you don't have to use the tape. But I'm going to try and see if somehow I can get my pencil. It's way easier if we do it this way. Just do that and then flip my paper. So all I need, hold this still and on here and get it balanced about where I want it. I can even use that tape in the center to kind of help know whether or not it's level. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect right here. I'm going to fix it up as I go. Okay, I think I want 4-inch letter. So again, I've got the grid on here. So I moved that up 4 inches. I already have it measured off because I put that grid down. And I'm not really pushing on this ruler. I'm using it as a guide. Trying to barely touch it. But I can flip this paper over now, and there's the arch. Let's do that. I'm going to put this piece of tape here to mark my center, knowing that my center is on that side of the tape, and I can line this back up. And I'm going to bring this up a little higher, about where I want it on the door. Probably around there, eyeball it to get it level. While I'm drawing this out, it doesn't have to be perfectly level because I can adjust the paper later. Take this piece of tape off. And I can also center it better later too. So not really worried about that at the moment. Let's see, I'm just going to go ahead and crease that. that's how I establish my arch. Tape and a flexible ruler. Really quick before I get going on this, customer and I went through and I did some thumbnails. We sent pictures back and forth through the computer. So just to show you guys, sketch stuff out, figured out our design that way, figured out what she wanted, what she didn't want on it. I'm now taking my pencil and I'm gonna really rough and very lightly sketch out just shapes of where the letters are. So I'm gonna count my letters here and kind of figure out roughly like that. Then I'll come back and measure. I don't make it too rigid because I don't want my letters to look too mechanical and too rigid. So I'm gonna go and do that real quick. I got 10 letters. Some of these are skinnier than others, right? We got I's, we got O's and G's, which are bigger, but I can use that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kind of give me a little bit of an idea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. I need a space too, so we're going to call that 11. We're going to go a little bit more with the N. 5 letters to one side, 5 and a space to the other, or 4 and a space to the other, 5 and a space. So I'm just kind of looking. That's why I like doing this on the truck doors, so I can see about how it fits. I like the negative space there. I used my pencil. Not an exact measurement here. Around there. Right. And then it looks like my N maybe somewhere around the center. So I'm just doing kind of loops at the moment. How big I think the letters might be. C, K, skinnier for the I, N, G, space, bar. Looks spacing wise pretty good. So now I'm going to take my tape off of this. Got another ruler that's a little bit more rigid. I kind of like using for this kind of stuff too, but I'm just going to get an idea of about how wide those letters are. If I can, I kind of want to round. So we're close to 2.5 inches. So I'm going to take in the center from top to bottom. Just make a line that's every 2.5 inches. That's easy, right? Count by 2.5. 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, 15, 17.5, 20, 22.5, and 25. Kind of rough, doesn't have to be perfect. Let me go get another tool. 2 tools, a triangle, got a ruler. Triangle's kind of nice. I feel like the bottom of this, I can look at where it is on that arch, and it kind of gives me an idea of whether or not I'm coming straight off of that. So with that, I'm going to turn these into lines around there. It's not going to be perfect and mechanical because I don't want it to be perfect and mechanical. My brush is going to take care of a lot more of the letter width whenever I'm painting. A lot of the shape is really dictated by the brush. As I draw, keep in mind how the brush works. And kind of my disclaimer that I often give, this is how I do it. I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. there are people out there who have way more knowledge of signs. Actually, I already know that was right there. Way more skill set than me. This is what I do. If it helps you, cool. A lot of it's stuff that I've picked up from watching other people that know a whole lot more than me, or from tips and stuff that they've either shared to me personally or shared on the internet. But this is how I'm going to do it. Now, I want these letters to have kind of a fat top to them, so I'm going to establish a line, and again, sort of eyeballing it based on that curve. Okay, I'm going to establish another line. This is the top and bottom. I think it's called a block serif. You know, serif is on the letters, the part that kind of comes out at the bottom. It's a way more technical way to explain that, but I'm trying to keep it understandable here. I don't want my block to be huge. I don't want it to take over and be too much of a bulk. But now I'm going to come through, and I'm freehanding a lot of this. I could do it a different way, but I like freehanding. The more I do this, the more I like letters the way they look when I kind of freehand them. And I will come through and tighten up what's supposed to be straight. Looking at the center here, I don't want that perfectly on center. I want it to end up being a little above center, the opening of the R. And I might mess around with how that opening's gonna look, but for right now, this is, again, just the rough draft. I look at the width of these stems, or not exactly sure what they're called. Probably because I'm on camera and my brain doesn't work as well when I'm trying to talk and draw. Okay, for the O, I draw a box on this style of letter, and then I round the corners. It's by eyeball. I'm looking at that one, looking at this one. When I paint, I'll probably be making adjustments with the brush too. Now, something on O's. O's are usually wider than other letters. That is also the case even with this. Gotta look at that letter space, what we want. And it's also taller a little bit. There's probably a formula for how much it's supposed to be. Don't know it. Somebody knows it. Let us know in the comments. Okay. C, I'm pretty much going to start with the same deal. And O. When I come to that side over there is when it changes. And I'll go back and I'll, after I get this sketched out, look at some letter styles out of things like the Speedball manual, stuff like that. I really like the Speedball manual. Trying to copy the width of that stem. Okay. If I'm in the shop, or if I want this to be really exact, I'll cut a piece of paper, hard stock paper that's that width, and I'll use it to come through and make sure they're all the same. I've used a popsicle stick before. I got that from somebody else. I've used the ruler width before. Depends on how big the letters are. It's just finding something to keep a consistent width for those. Consistency is key. Okay, so I'm looking at the width of this. This has to be a little wider. Not much. I don't think it has to be exactly as wide as the O. Someone can correct me on that. Give it a little bit more width though. Give the inside a little bit more width, and then I'm going to cut it. And again, I'll go back and look for references to correct if I've done this wrong. R-O-C-K, right? Looking at my letter spaces. Could just draw a straight line here. I'll come back and tighten all that up with this. But right now I'm just sketching out. I'm gonna quit explaining each one. I'm gonna come back after I get this part drawn out and maybe even ranch, but I think you kind of get the idea here. I'm using that line edger across the top and then here to make my block serif, keeping that consistent all the way across. Looking at my letter spaces, some letters we're going to have more space in between than others. Round letters kind of encroach on the negative space in between letters. Letters like A are going to get closer because you want that negative space to be balanced throughout the whole thing. So I'll adjust stuff as I need to. Sometimes I do this with charcoal. That works out really well. I don't have any with me at the moment. But let me get this sketched out and then I'll show you me tightening it up. All right, so one of the other things that I like to do, and I've got it roughed out there, that part, is stand back and look at it. Does it look to be the right size for the door? Does it need to be that way more or that way more? Does that look level or do I need to tweak that some? I'm gonna go ahead and use my ruler, tighten this up a little bit, use a different pencil so it stands out good, and then I'll make those decisions on that part, because if I'm gonna change that part, I'll cut it off, design the rest where it is, and then I can adjust this if I need to, kind of like you would in a computer. All right, so I started off with, what is this, a 4H pencil, which is hard. Now I'm switched to a 4B. My pencil's getting stubby, so I'm not gonna push too hard, but I'm gonna go through and tighten things up, like making sure that the sides of this R are lined up with each other, okay? I don't waste a lot of time on that up there, but I will come through, tighten some of these up. More than anything, it's the straights that I'm after here. I'll end up tracing all this with a ballpoint pen and this raw paper later. I look at these two boxes. This one looks smaller than that one. I feel like they should be a little closer to the same, so I'm going to shave a little off on this side. And we'll shave a little bit back here on this side. I'm just doing it with pencil. I'm not going through any erasing. Time's part of that. I want the sides of this to be fairly straight. Eyeballing my letter widths there. They're going to get a little skinnier at the bottom and fatter at the top. Still thinking of this as a box, right? So let's boxy that out just a little bit more than what it was. I think that helps our R when we do that. So I'm going to line this up, side of that R, and bring it out, over a little bit more. But I'm just kind of going through and making adjustments. I looked at, and I am looking at, this is actually in the house lettering manual, reference for slab serif. Pretty much I'm exaggerating the tops of the slab serif and keeping it all based off of a box shape. But again, we're just going through, making stuff a little bit more uniform, cleaning up my goofy sides if I need to, if I have goofy sides. Okay, if corners are too shallow, some parts, get rid of that. I might even take this and just go through and do all my straights to start off with here. I really want to line up these. I feel that that's important. Okay, lining these ones up at the top and the bottom to me also seems pretty important. If anybody has more info on that, chime in. Let me know. Teach us all. Rising tide, right? Raises all ships. That's kind of what we're after with this channel. If I'm learning stuff, hopefully we're all learning together. And I am always trying to learn stuff. Don't think I'll ever say this is the way, this is the only way you can do this. Leave that to other people. There's some great people out there that study letter forms like crazy and have wonderful knowledge. Beautiful brains, I guess, where it's concerned. And I try to listen, apply, but even listening and applying what it is that I learned from other people, I still look at it and try to use my judgment to see if it looks right. And again, that's kind of based on where my knowledge and understanding is at the time. Go through, finish tweaking this out. I think we'll work on doing the brand next that's going there before I do the letters. That way I can fill that spacing out. If I need to adjust this up or down, I can do it. It's paper. It's cuttable, tapeable, erasable. It's not permanent. Something I didn't like on my sketch here is how much negative space is around the brand. She wants the brand to be really big. So I'm going to stand back, look at it from a distance, try to visualize it in my mind, and I'm just going to draw a shape of where I think it should be, and I'm going to move that shape around until it's where it looks right to me. Alright, I think I have a good rough idea. I want to keep maybe my thicknesses still somewhere similar to what's going on in my letters, so it's all about roughing it out, right? And I'll go back and look at my reference photo, but it's on my camera or on my phone that I'm sitting here using. So I'm going to rough it out based off my sketch and my memory first, based off of what my eye is telling me things should look like. Try to read some lettering manuals and stuff as often as I can, and old things like that. Other books and stuff that are out there. That Mike Stevens book is one of my favorites, but a lot of them talk about optical center, optical spacing, optical meaning your eyeball, right? Don't look right, just don't look right. How much space was between the two parts. I think that one's pretty decent. I'll stand back again and look at this from a distance. I like the negative space that I have here. That's really what I'm after, because I'll keep that same negative space below the next letters. I like this space that's here. I'm kind of basing this down here off of this, so this will be the top of my Words Ranch. Having drawn that grid, I'm going to sit here and measure stuff out a whole lot. I'm going to use this clear ruler, and it's one of the reasons I like it, is I can see through and really get an idea of if my line looks right. I'm going to use that. It's probably going to be wider than that. I will measure out here in a minute. But I can look at the width of that, come down here below this, and just use that same width, eyeballing it, and my measurement's basically already there, right? So I'm not wasting time of measuring everything out over and over again. I am going to measure from the sides, and let's do, I don't know, it's all going to end up depending on how the letters look, but for now, and again, it's giving us a guide. I'm going to go out here at 8 inches off of that side. Make a mark at 4 inches. Do the same down here. 4, 8. My wife and I joke, I don't know if you guys ever saw that movie Stand and Deliver. always like, you gotta have math. If you haven't seen it, then you don't catch my reference. Well, we'll just go ahead real quick. Again, it's kind of like a loose grid. Show y'all something else here real quick. I'm kind of a nerd in sign stuff. If I find something that worked for sign painters and stuff in the past, I figure it should work for me still. And I heard people all the time talk about the old Coke boxes. So I got me one. It's like $5 at a garage sale, or a swap meet, paint swap meet. But it gives you 3 different heights to sit on. I like the one that was set up for bottles. I feel like the grid inside of it makes it stronger. But right now, I'm a little higher than I want to be for this. I'm going to adjust it to where I can sit down here. Just something cool. Thought I'd show you guys. But I'm going to go ahead and keep drawing this out. We'll come back and look at it and figure out the... All right, I probably should have showed you guys when I drew out the established 1888. I basically just made sure it's centered, right? I like designs to kind of look like a V. Look for references everywhere. Kind of learned that from some stuff that I read from Noel Webster out of Idaho. Pick up stuff from everywhere. Mike Stevens' book, I think I mentioned that earlier. There's some stuff in there about that. But again, kind of trying to keep that V shape with that. So this is smaller, bigger here, but I like the negative space here. I am bringing the design out to where it kind of squares up with this using the little weep that we're putting in. And I made a line on each side, made sure they come out to the same width. I draw big to small. So there's that, come up with the big shape, and then start working on the details. I went to art school, University of Southern Mississippi. It's one of the things that was taught to us there. Wanted to mention it earlier, didn't think about it. I thought about it, but didn't say it. I was talking about how things are paper, right? It's pencil, it can be erased, it can be moved. I think back to whenever I was in art school. James Mead was my drawing teacher. Got some painting classes out of him too. And he talked about art as being plastic arts. And I remember him saying that in Italy, they kind of refer to it as the plastic arts, meaning it's movable, right? It's not solid like concrete. It's changeable, and that's something that's always stuck with me. And that's kind of where my philosophy is whenever I draw stuff like this out, is I can draw it, put it down rough, you know, like I said, start big, move it around and reshape it until I get it to where I want it. And it's not even solid and perfect and permanent whenever it's in paint, because it could be sanded off, it could be cleaned off with oven cleaner or something after it's dry. Like, there's a lot of different ways to change it if you need to change it. It is changeable. When I taught, it was one of the things that I saw that kids seem to have the hardest time with, especially younger kids. And I tried really hard to teach them is, you know, I guess we'll do the Bob Ross thing, right? There's no mistakes. They're just things that you don't like. You change them until you fix them to where you like them. I like the whole philosophy of optical space, optical balance. You look at it, your brain's wired that you can tell when it looks right to you, and what looks right to you might change a little over time as you learn more stuff. But I think this looks pretty good. I'll show you guys a little bit while I'm painting. Not a whole lot, because again, I don't really want it to be about that. We'll talk about the truck a little bit more, and I'll walk around it, and then I'll show you guys the finished deal whenever it's done. Before I transfer it off, here's my drawing, right? I like how it sits on the truck. Transfer that to both sides and paint, and we'll see what it looks like when it's done. That is my Seural paper back behind that. I am about to transfer this over to the other side. I took measurements, right? 5 1/8 inches from this body line to the top of that. 4 inches from here to the edge of the door. Same on the other side. Let me show you this. All right, back over here at the other side. All right, I put tape to where this is that 5 and I think it was an 1/8, okay, from the body line. And then over here, I've got my 4 inches, and over here, 4 inches to this inside. So when I line that paper up on the other side, I'm gonna line my drawing up on this tape. All right, got my drawing. This is where being on tracing paper comes in handy. First off, looking at my height. Second thing, I need to come that way because I'm looking for that to line up the edge of this. Okay. Then I'm going to check the other side and come in and center it on those. Scoot down a little bit. Put the tape down. Fighting a little bit of wind there. And then I can stand back and look at it and see if it looks straight. I feel like it might be up just a little bit on this side, so I'm going to pull this side down. A hair. I do mean a hair. Okay, to do that, let that one go. We're just going to shift it just a little. Try it out again. I feel like that might have been too much, and it wasn't much at all. So let's try it again here. Just going to come up this time ever so slightly. I mean, we're doing little bitty stuff. I think I can live with that. Can trace it off. And just so y'all see, here's my transfer on the other side. I see that I missed a little bit on the eye, top of the A and the N. I can come back with a ruler though and fix those things with my Stabilo pencil. Worked on a few trucks that my friend Jason and his son have built here over the years, and I really like the style that they go for. It seems that they like things that have a history to them and kind of show that history with the dents and the worn paint and all, and I don't know, I really kind of like that thing, not just with cars, but with a lot of stuff. Kind of like my little Coke crate I'm sitting on. Has history. All right, I'm actually about to leave for the day. I've decided I'm going to do some drop shadows on those tomorrow, probably in a reddish brown color. It's a good stopping point though for the day. Real quick, just a little panoramic, I guess, kind of thing in here. Super cool shop. Lots of cool stuff to look at. I don't know if Jason's gonna mind. I'll have to ask him, but really cool signs. Got an awesome sign collection. Phillips, Mobil Gas, Knox. Alright, we were all finished up. Went back through today, did a little bit of red wash on these letters. Did a red drop shadow on them, ties the color in. I'll show you guys some close-ups here in a second. Distressed a little bit more in some places, like where there's bare metal showing behind here. Let me show you this. Because it is a Kansas truck, and Kansas is, I guess, the heart of the country. Where this truck is from is actually from like dead center in Kansas, but we did the shape of Kansas with the heart. We didn't want to write Heart of America because it's too close to the Heartbeat of America deal. Oh, you know, the old Chevrolet thing. We didn't want it to be too much like that, so we did a heart inside of that. I got to show you guys something else too, because I think this is super cool. All right, I think these might be one of the coolest license plates ever made, where they've got the shape of Kansas as the license plate. I think I only found 2 other states that they ever did that with. And then I think somewhere in Canada they did the one that was, looks like a bear. Go ahead and give you guys some close-ups here of the lettering. Did a little bit more of a red wash on this to make it look more like that paint showing through, where all that red is faded through. We got our wheat to represent Kansas. Their ranch started in 1888. I said this was her grandpa's truck. I guess they don't have the ranch anymore. She said this is one of the only things they have left of it. We are going to end up doing the hubcaps on these. They're old hubcaps at the moment, but they've just painted white. I'll go through and distress those for her and then fill in the letters and all. But pretty cool truck. We'll do one more walk around on it. Hope you guys learned something with the drawing thing. Not necessarily like a teaching thing, but showing you how I do stuff. Might give you some ideas or help reinforce some of the stuff you think you're doing right. I don't know if there's right or wrong. But here's a walk around. If you ask me, I think the patina on this truck for being a ranch truck is pretty much perfect. I like it. All right, y'all. Remember, hit like, subscribe, check out one of the other videos. See you guys later.